Hello guys, my name is Zishan and today I'm going to tell you something about the partitions in the Hive. So let's get started. So first of all, let me start my Hadoop strt-all.sh. So the Hadoop is started. Meanwhile, we can go through some of the nodes, basic nodes which I prepared for the partition. So basically what partitioning in the Hive is, let us consider a case that you have a very large data set and you have to apply some queries. For example, consider a case of the of a company, for example a Microsoft, right? He is having a multiple locations in some different countries, and you as an SQL administrator or as a Hive admin or as a Hive developer, you have to fire a query that's and you need a data of all the employees who are located in the California, right? So at that moment you will fire a query, something similar to select all from table employee and where location is equal to for example California, right? So in that case that query is applied to each and every column, right? So it will apply to each and every column, no matter whether it is in the California or in the Texas, right? It will apply to each and every column, right? And because of this it will become a very hectic to the servers, right? And it is very expensive as well, right? Expensive in the terms of the time it will take and some other resources it will take, right? So just to overcome from these kind of things, uh, uh, the Hive will come up with a concept of the partitioning of the data. So let's go ahead. My Hadoop is started, so let me start the Hive as well. Yeah, it's also coming up. So to explain the concept of the Hive, I have a CSV file, right? This is of record of the US crime, and this is a type of the crime, basic description, and whether assert there is a column, it's a true or false, there is a code, and there is a year. So today we will play around with this data, right? And let's see how we can move with the Hive. Okay, yeah, it started. So before going through all the process, let's go ahead more on the why we are going to create the partition. As I already tell you, that partition is required because the processing of data will become very expensive in the terms, right? So, and when not to use a partition, because every time partition is not a good task, right? So whenever you have to select all the data, that is you need all the records of the US crime with all the columns and field, right? So at that moment if you create a partition, it will be a very expensive task, right? And second thing is that if the data set is very small, right? If data set is small, partition creating a partition of a small data set is not a good, right? So when you have to use a partition, when a data set is very large, it may be in the millions of records, right? Or and second thing is that you have to because whenever you are creating a partition, you are adding an extra column and it's all going into the kind of a directory structure. I will show it everything to you when we go in the practical mode. So to and so while creating the partition, we have to select a column with a low cardinality. So what the cardinality is, for example in this sheet, I have a columns name that such as a code and the true and the assertion. So cardinality basically is something which is I mean which is present in the column, but it is repeating very less. For example, I can say there is a column named type, and there is only 5 or 6 type of the crime happened. There's a theft, narcotics department, robbery, battery. So these are kind of a the type of the theft which happen in the US, right? So if I and so this can be taken as a considered as a low cardinality, right? So but there are few columns, not present in the sheet. For example, if there is a column, consider there is a date as well as there is a time. So if I take time as a cardinality and each and every second, so it will create the partition of the data on the basis of each and every minute. For example, this record will came at L20, and this record will came at L22. If I create a partition, then it will create a partition on that basis, and we will get a millions of partitions over there, right, which become a very hectic over the and maintaining the metadata in the meta store, right? So let me tell you more about Hive, how actually it look like. Let me open it in a paint so that I can draw. Here is open with paint, right? So what it I mean, all the whatever the directory structure will form, because if you are storing a single file, if you are storing this file into the HDFS, right, it will store it in a single directory, right? And if you and when you go ahead with the Hive and you're creating the database, creating the table, these all are it looks like the directory structure, and the data we store it is a kind of a file, right? So if we store this whole file, that's a crime-us.csv file, if we store this file, it will come in a single directory, right? So if we fire a query, if this Bob, it fire a query, for example, select all from the crime, right? So it will search each and every records, right? And first of all, it will contact to the meta store because metadata is present over there, and then it will communicate with the HDFS, and then there is a lot more internal process, the serialization, the deserialization process will happen, and a lot more process will be there, and then it will fetch the data. So, and if the same if we fire the same page, let's say select all from the crime where type equals to robbery, then, and if the data is not partitioned, that query is applied to each and every column, right? So let me tell you about let's go ahead with the practical stuff. Hive is started, and let me tell you what the agenda of this video. We will upload the data, and data is already downloaded, and it is in the CSV format, right? So I already checked what is the low column, I mean a column with a low cardinality, and I am considering the data the type as a type of the crime as a low cardinality. I am considering this as a column, and we will create a non-partition table. We load the data, then and basically partition of the two types. There is a static and the dynamic. What the difference between static and dynamic partition is? In a static partition, you tell the Hive that this is my the static partition, right? You will going to tell the Hive that I am considering only theft as a static partition, right? But in dynamic partition, it will automatically create directory of each and every type of the theft. It will automatically create, which is more beneficial as compared to the static partition. But in some cases where that you have to apply data apply query only on the theft partition, I mean where the type is theft, then you can create a static partition. Okay, so Hive is there. Let me create a database. There is a command create create database name. Let me check. Today is Saturday. Okay, database is created. Let me use this set as a database. I'm in the set database. Let me check what tables are there. There is no table, right? So So data is there, we have some commands. So just to speed up the whole process, I had already write every command. So I'm just moving straight forward toward the insertion, right? So I'm creating an external table by the name US crime, and this is basically a very simple format. We create an external table because the difference between external and the managed table is that whenever you're dropping the data, whenever you're dropping the table, right, and if it is a managed table, it will delete the it from the hdfs as well as from the it will delete the its metadata also, right? And if the table is an external table, and if you drop it, right, it will not delete it, right? If you know its metadata is not deleted, in fact no, it is not deleted from the hdfs, right? However, the metadata will get deleted, and all the information within in the sql database, it will get deleted, but it will remain in the hdfs, right? So it's a basic command to create a table. Let me copy that command. What's happened here? Something else is copied. What is the problem? This is the problem. P at paste it. It's created, but actually I'm really bad. I mistype these fields, right? So now that the table get created, check show tables. There is a table US crime, right? So now the table is created. Our next task is to load the data into this table. Copy this and paste it over here. Straightforward. Loading data to table set dot crime. Set is my database, US crime is my table. It might take some time. Just communicating to the name node, loading the data, a lot more processes there, and I think it's done. And don't worry about this, it's a warning. It is that you can skip it, it will not affect the process, right? And one more thing, let me start my DFS. I'm running all this on a virtual machine, and there are already a couple more processes are running on this machine, so it is a bit slow. It's Hadoop administration, browse file systems, there is home, Shan, work, warehouse, and here it is. So as I told you, that whenever you are creating a data, whenever you're creating a data, any of the database, it will get converted into the as a directory. The file type is a directory, right? So let me go ahead in this database. There is another table. I created a table US crime, which is also this type is directory. If I click on it, there is a the data which I just loaded. It is in the type of file. It is in the CSV format. You can check all the data which is in the sheet is already there in the DFS, right? So half of part we have already done, right? So now I'm creating another external table, and and this is a partition table, right? So let me go ahead, and process is already same. However, you have to take care only about this part, partition by, partition by, and with the type, this is the column name, and this is the data type. It is a string. And one most important part while creating the partition table is that I'm whenever you are selecting a column on which you want to do the partition, you never ever mention that column in the while in the schema, right? We're not going to mention it, right? So in the previous table I mentioned the the type as a string, in the normal table, but in the partition table I will not mention it. I will mention it in the separate, because it by default create another column. So if we mention there as well, and by and we mention in the partition by, I mean as a separate column as well, then there will be a two column, which is completely not allowed. So that's why we haven't mentioned it, and we are separating it, and on that basis we are creating a partition. Rest everything is same. So let me go ahead and straightforward copy it. Okay, the Hive database is done. It's copied. Let me check. Show tables. Oops. Okay, yes, there are two tables. User crime part. Let me check in the web interface as well. Right, there is a another table. It's empty. So let's go ahead and load the data. So at this moment I'm not going to load the data, in fact. So because I already have a external table with all the things, everything is mentioned there, right? Regarding the the all the data of the theft, and the description, date, and the code, everything is there. So what straightforward I am doing, I'm just inserting the data from that table, right? So while inserting, you have to understand this there's a SQL command, that is insert override, which is very similar to the all the, I mean in fact a very generic SQL type, right? Table user crime, it's a table name, partition by type, right? So this is what on which you have done the partition, partition by type. And this is select description, everything from this the previous table, that is external table, normal table which you have created, which is in fact a non-partition table, right? And you have to mention it while selecting. You have to mention the the on the column on which you are doing the partition. You have to mention it in the last, that is type. So let me go ahead and copy this part. Okay, paste it, center. May take some time. Dynamic part. Dynamic. So before doing partition, you have to enable the dynamic part. There is a command on which you have to enable the dynamic partition, because it is a security of the Hive, because so that you cannot create a dynamic partition by mistake, right? So there is a command, in fact it's a very lengthy command. I don't think have I mentioned it. It is a set.hive. I think I mentioned. Let me do the Google for it. It's a lengthy command, just mistype here. So, it's a lengthy command, it's a very long. Set type hive.cli dot there's something there, but just forget it. dynamic partition in Hive. Where is a part, I think it's mentioned the commands dot hive dot partition equal to true. No, that's not a command. Yes, let me copy it. And let's enable the dynamic partition. It's done. So if you type this command, create a dynamic partition, and now it will get executed without any error. I think there is two more command. We have to enable it as a non-partition. I just forget it, how it can be done. Yeah, so this is the command. Basically, why not copy from here? I have to strict, let's set in the non-strict mode. Done. So now let's execute this. It will not send it through any error. MapReduce job is started. And one more interesting thing, if you click on this, it will show you the complete job process, whatever happening behind the scenes. Let me open it. Here it is. It is showing map 0% completed, right? It is not yet started. One pending, one running. Lot more detail you will see from here. Lot more details are here. And it is not running. Job setup successful. Refresh. It's done. Mapper is done. Now reducer task is remaining, and you can also see just now it's loading. If I refresh it again, yeah, reducer is also done. So one process complete, all done. Lot more information is here about the job counters, file system counters, everything. Lot more information is here, right? So if you click on this XML as well, you will see all the parameters regarding the job ID. So now it's loading. It will take some time because I'm creating a lot more partition is here, so a lot more process going on the backend side, so it will take some time. In fact, the mapper and the reducer task is completed, but still it is going to create the directories where the files will be get loaded, and it's already creating partitions, right? So it will take some time. If you want to check, let me check what is doing the backend side in the set database. Script part, see, it's created, right? So this is this file will get automatically removed when all the process will be done. It is something kind of a temporary files, right? So you can check it is creating a sub type of directory, type equal to home site, criminal trespass, crime sexual, robbery, vehicle theft. It is creating, right? So let me refresh. Change one more, it created one more directory, that is damage, right? Created one more directory, Berkeley, Erson. Refresh more times. Let me check what's happening in the command line. It is still processing. So dynamic processing really will take time. That's why we have to, you know, go ahead with those columns where the cardinality is low, right? And that's why Hive, by default not allowing to create the dynamic partition just by, typing few commands of the partition. So that's why, I'm getting some errors because I haven't, enabled the dynamic partition. It's done. So you can see all the data is done, all the entries are the 71 entries are there, all the directories created. So let's how much time it will take more time. Let me check what's happened on the website. Yes, more and more is created. Still the control is not get back. And now you can imagine if there is a millions of record, then how much time it will take. So that's why it's a parallel processing. And right now I'm running this Hive in my single node machine, and that's why taking much time. And the Spark, that's a new technology it's introduced, so which can, on Spark we can do these kind of things in fraction of seconds, couple of seconds, not the fractions. So yes, all the data is, creating the partitions, everything. You want to refresh it. We're just doing the final few tasks. It's done. So lot more time is taken, around 274 seconds, but it's very useful. See, now it's gone, right? So everything is there, the partition is created. So in this in this directory where the type of the crime is sn, there is only one file, by file, and there is only one data, right? And if I check with this, there is n number of records. I mean, how many records are there, count, but there are, good number of record in the burglary. Okay, you let me prove whatever I've done, right? As I told you, that it will save your time. So if I run this command, right, select account, I want to select all the records, where the crime type is equal to SL. So let me copy this and let me run this command. Again, the mapper and the everything, mapper reducer type is started, so it will take few more minutes. Mapper is not started yet. Mapper is done. Left with the reducer task. Reducer is done, and yes, time taken to fetch the row, it's at a 40-second approx, right? So if I use the same command, on the partition table, right, you can see the difference in the time execution of the query, right? You can see the difference. Fails. Why it's failed? Right, so however, whenever you execute the same queries, right, on the partition table, it will take less time, around 20-30 seconds will be less, right? So this is all about the partitions, right? If you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching. Bye.